Linux continues its world domination. Are you ready for the rise of the penguin? Google shows off its Pixel 6 and its brand new Tensor processor, and Intel tweets something that they probably shouldn't have. Let's get into the hot news, everybody. I'm your host, Saitom. We're going to be going over the hottest tech news that I can find on the internet while you enjoy your breakfast. So sit back, relax, enjoy your bowl of Cheerios, and let's talk about how Linux is continuing to grow market share, at least when it comes to gamers. And the reason I think this is relevant news is especially with the excitement and hype that's surrounding Valve's Steam Deck that's supposed to arrive towards the end of this year. Considering that's going to be running on Linux, the larger adoption that we see of that operating system for video games would likely mean better support for that platform. And boy howdy, wouldn't you know it, that Valve's Steam hardware survey is showing that there is a spike in usage on Linux in July, increasing by 0.14% up to 1%. Look at that, my friends. Linux gaining market share, OS X losing, and Windows also losing. However, I wonder if part of this might be due to the fact that Windows 11 was announced with new security protocols that not every gamer can actually have, so they're transitioning potentially over to Linux, trying that out, or if the Steam Deck might be getting more people interested in playing on Linux in anticipation of Steam launching their new Steam Deck console, which according to Valve, they should have a lot of their games supported by Proton, which is their protocol for getting Windows games to run on Linux. They should have most of the games ready by the time the Steam Deck launches. I'm highly intrigued by this. The trajectory of Linux at this point seems to be a positive one, and we might be able to get away from the strangleholds of Microsoft and Apple. Let me know what you think of Linux's adoption down below in the comments. And I want to let you know that I actually just want to celebrate Colorful for a second because they are making a gorgeous GPU. I typically don't cover every single version of a GPU that's getting announced, but this RTX 3060 Mini ITX is exactly what I want to see in a GPU. Brush metal finish, white fan, white shroud, it's all looking good. Colorful taking a little bit of a departure from other GPU manufacturers. I love to see it. I'm going to call out the good GPUs when I see them. I like this one. Good job, Colorful. You know what you could use that GPU for, though? Mining cryptocurrency. Let's get into the Cryptostonks update. Bitcoin down 1.2% in the last 24 hours to sit at just under $40,000. It's had its peaks and its valleys, but it's mostly sitting right around that $40,000 mark. However, Ethereum continuing on a tear, up 2.85% in the last 24 hours to sit at 2619. It's had a pretty decent week, increasing from the depths of below $2,200 to sit nearly $400 above that at this point. Dogecoin also doing mediocrely okay, up 0.55% in the last 24 hours to sit at 20.5 cents. GameStop down 2% on the day to close at 157.65, and AMC closing at 35.20, which is down 5%. Doing very similarly to what they did last week, was start up, have a decently positive early part of the trading day, and then just continue its slip slide down to being nearly worthless and not worth covering on Hot News any longer, which is what Stadia is. Google Stadia, in case you're not familiar, is Google's bastard child of a game cloud streaming platform that they thought was going to be ready and be the future of games, and turned out to be totally that, but like the bad future that you don't want to be part of. It's the darkest timeline type of future that we're in with this. Anyways, there's a new job listing for Google Stadia that seems to indicate that they might be switching ideas, or at least adding in a new sector dimension of how they're going to market Stadia, which is take the infrastructure that they built and sell it to other companies, because no consumer is actually using it, so you could just sell off the infrastructure, or, you know, license it out and focus on that as far as your like monetization platform until you inevitably kill it off, just like everybody knows you're going to do. Google, stop delaying the inevitable and let Stadia die a death with dignity. Admit that it's not what you promised it was going to be, number one. Admit that it's never going to be what you promised it was going to be, and then just say, hey, it's over. We can move on. Have an amicable breakup with us, Google, please. And I think I might not break up with Android phones, especially with Google announcing the Pixel 6 and Pixel 6 Pro, as well as their Tensor processor that's going to be coming out in these new smartphones. So Google designing its own SoC that's going to be going into these phones. This is not necessarily a completely new venture for Google. They've done things such as their image processor, as well as other processing that they've done on smaller SoCs that have been in the actual phones previously, like the 4 and 3 and 2 XLs and all of the ones that they've they've had for the Pixel lineup. So this will allow them to focus on AI and machine learning processes that they've never been able to implement before. One of the big things that's being quoted is that they're going to have better video processing now, because that's been one of the weak points of the Pixel devices, was that their pictures were great, but then their videos were kind of mediocre because of just the fact that they couldn't actually integrate it as cohesively with Qualcomm Snapdragon chips as they would have liked. And now the Tensor processor will allow them to do it. The first impressions and hands-on videos that I've seen of the Pixel 6 do seem to indicate that the video side of the smartphone do appear to be class leading. I'm actually kind of excited for it. There's going to be two different iterations, the regular 6 and the 6 Pro. The regular 6 is going to be 6.4 inches on a 90 Hz display, and the Pixel 6 Pro will be 6.7 inches with a 120 Hz refresh rate. The Pro will have a 4x telephoto lens, and one of the big things is that they're going to be upgrading the sensors that are in the camera system, which is something that they haven't done in multiple phone iterations because they've been focusing on the AI and processing side rather than the physical hardware side. So the Pixel 6 does appear to be a big upgrade for Google. You can see here the different colors that you can mismatch between the Pixel 6 and the Pixel 6 Pro. Let me know what you think of it down below in the comments. And Google also trialing out a new way of subscribing to YouTube with Premium Lite now popping up in Europe. It's the cheaper way of getting YouTube Premium features, so you still get the ad-free viewing experience of YouTube Premium, but without offline downloads, YouTube Music, and background playback, which is actually totally fine for me. I have YouTube Premium because number one, it pays creators more, and number two, I just don't want to sit through the ads, so that's the easiest way to have that happen. And having this, because I don't use the music feature or the background playback or the offline download, so I don't need any of that, I'd rather pay the cheaper price. It's going for €6.99 right now in Europe, which is the same price as the student plan for YouTube Premium. We'll see if they launch this worldwide or if there's any more developments for that as time goes on. And as time goes on, we march towards a further dystopian future where your biometrics become super valuable. So valuable, in fact, Amazon is willing to pay you for them. You want to know how much? $10 in Amazon credit, my friends, okay? They want to know the intricacies of the lines on your hand so that they can tell your future, know whether or not you're going to die on, some sort of Amazon employee trip, and then they just don't have to necessarily pay for you. They'll get rid of you, hire somebody else. The Amazon palm scanning thing is part of their Amazon Go stores, where you can actually go in and check out with just using your hand. It's connected to your Amazon account. Amazon also saying that they're going to hold on to this data forever, simply for that exchange of a $10 credit. It's really intriguing that they're trying to entice people to give them more biometric data. I could see this being used in different ways in the future at some point. Maybe they have biometric scanners on deliveries so that they make it so that when you touch it, they acknowledge that you received it. So if you quote that your delivery got put somewhere else, they know that you touched it and you're lying to them, you liar. Okay, now they're going to come send an Amazon SWAT team, come in and just destroy your computer. They're going to pee on it. Jeff Bezos personally urinating all over your computer, which hopefully they don't urinate all over Lord of the Rings and Tolkien's legacy. But we'll find out if they do in 2022 with a teaser image coming out from the Lord of the Rings series that's supposed to go on Amazon Prime Video. September 2022 is the time frame that we're looking for this series to come out on Amazon Prime, September 2nd specifically. It's supposed to take place long before the events of The Hobbit and the Lord of the Rings original series. We'll see how good it is. They're spending a lot of money on it, $465 million on the TV show, which would probably, at least according to all of the records I've seen, make it the most expensive TV show that's ever been made. WandaVision was only $250 million, which was a ton of cash. Game of Thrones only spent $15 million per episode. We'll see if it's any good and if that money has any sort of return. I'm gonna watch it. I don't have high hopes. What do you think of Amazon's Lord of the Rings series? Let me know down below in the comments. And there's some indication that Intel, totally unrelated to Amazon, might have their DG2 GPUs being unveiled at CES 2022. There's a rumor that that's when it's gonna happen. So keep your ears to the ground and see if you hear the pitter-patter of Intel's feet rushing to the stage to show off their hopefully not garbage next-gen GPU. If you listen right now, though, you can hear the pitter-patter of Intel's feet scurrying away from a mistake they made, which was posting classified information all over the internet, because Intel's VP and GM Gregory Bryant posted a tweet which showed off a few images of people touring Intel's factory, showing off the goodness of what they've got, Intel's Israel team in the books with Thunderbolt innovation, but he didn't delete this picture, which shows that they're working on 80 gigabit per second Thunderbolt 5. which looks to be incredibly impressive, implementing a new modulation technology known as PAM3, which will allow them to regulate and do the scientific physics stuff to get 80 gigabits per second of throughput on Thunderbolt 5 to make it so that you can run 40 3080 Ti's in quintuple SLI and have a super GPU. It's exactly what they want you to use it for, my friends. And I want you to finish your breakfast and go check out yesterday's episode of Hot News where we showed off a bunch of stuff that AMD's got going on. They got a new socket, they got a new APU, they got new GPUs. Go watch yesterday's episode of Hot News and I'll see you tomorrow for breakfast, my friends. Cheers.